I'm Josh Cooperman. This is Convo by Design, and this week we are heading to another hotbed of design in the Midwest, Kansas City. We're visiting with Mallory Robbins and Elizabeth Bennett, partners in Kobel and Company, a firm that curates happiness and joy through interior design and creation of contemplative spaces. Seriously, I think happiness and joy should be used in every description of design and architecture because that's what it should deliver. And today we're discussing things like curated minimalism, happy places, and time-worn objects, all revolving around the idea that design is the curated creation of the place where you want to be. That makes you happy. Sounds so easy, right? Manufacturing the place where you want to be, it's not easy. That's why I think you are going to enjoy listening to the following conversation with Mallory and Elizabeth as much as I did enjoy facilitating it. I also enjoy sharing the stories from the design flyovers for a number of reasons. First, for years, you have heard me complaining that the traditional design media just doesn't provide any love to designers not residing in New York, LA, Miami, Boston, etc. But you're starting to, and that's a good thing. I also think, because I enjoy doing this as much as I do, it gives me a chance to go and visit these cities to fully understand the dynamics behind the growth of metropolitan areas across the U.S. For those who have never been to Kansas City, it's fun. It's funky. It is a funky town with some really interesting design. Perhaps hearing from Elizabeth and Mallory, you will, and trust me, it's worth the visit. You're going to hear all about that right after this. I am just incredibly proud of this partnership I've got with Thermosol. They have been presenting partners of Convo by Design going on 5 years now. And there is a certain amount of pride that comes with saying that the show is presented by the company that is the best in the world at what they do. Thermosol engineers the most exceptional smart shower products and steam shower systems worldwide, full stop. And it's for a few reasons. First of all, they were the first company to design and patent the technology here in the United States, dating back to 1958. Thermosol, a US-based manufacturer based in Round Rock, Texas, employs an engineering team that designs, tests, and continuously refines the product. Their quality control team tests every single steam generator before it departs the factory. Who else does that? Nobody that I know of. I have the pleasure of working with some world-class designers and architects who tell me, and if you're in the business, you know this, that the idea of luxury has changed, especially when clients want a spa-like bathroom. Steam is mandatory, or it's just not considered a luxury. And if you want to add steam, you have only one true option, my opinion, and that's Thermosol. Mitch Altman, third generation CEO of this family-owned company of 65 years, continues to innovate in the bathroom and shower space through technological marvels such as intelligent showering systems, sound therapy, aromatherapy, technical interfaces, and so much more. And now Thermosol, the industry leader in steam bath equipment and technology since 1958, as I mentioned, is enhancing its already stellar family of products with the new indoor and outdoor luxury saunas, available in 3 designs. The configurations are absolutely amazing, and you should probably go check them out. Indoor and outdoor options. It's amazing. You really do need to check them out. Go to thermosol.com or at Thermosol on the socials. I have at times forgotten to do that. Like I'll get so into a conversation that I forget to record it. And that's not good for a podcast. So this is your, is this your first podcast?
It's our first podcast. Yes.
Oh, wow. Exciting.
Yes. You're our first.
It's amazing. I don't know how exciting it is, to be honest with you. I'm sure there's.
We're pumped. Yeah.
Okay.
Like we spoke in New York 2 years ago, and that was a first for us. And I think it was, it's always good to do something new and get a little outside your comfort zone.
It's true. And I have a ton of things I wanted to talk to you about. But what I love to do is I kind of wanted to get the origin story. Where'd you two meet?
Funny story. So I'm Mallory, by the
I'm
way,
Elizabeth.
I started the company in 2017, kind of a smaller enterprise at that time. Was doing it sort of part time, and about 2 years in, ran into Elizabeth at a school party. We've got popsicle party in the park.
Preschool.
Yeah, we've got kiddos that go to school together. And I had known Elizabeth in college. She gives me a hard time because we've been asked this question before. And apparently at one point I said I didn't know her well because she's much older. I don't actually
She
remember.
did say it. It's not that I am just holding a grudge. It's how she introduced us several times. People would ask, and I would say we went to the same university, and then she would interject, but we weren't friends. She was much older than I was.
Wow. Okay.
I wanted to clarify we were like old college buddies. I was just familiar with her.
Wow. Shots fired.
Yeah, we are not old college friends at all.
But I point that out because I did not know Elizabeth well, but I knew of her, and she always had amazing style. I very much looked up to her for how she carried herself, dressed herself, just incredible personal style. And 2 years into having a business, and I run into her at this popsicle party, and it was like a divine intervention. I just like in my bones knew she had to be my partner, and I was not even admittedly considering a partner at that time. It was just like something clicked in that moment. So I think we met for coffee maybe once after that, and I just flat out asked her, I said, quit your job and be my partner. A great job. And I don't know what crazy juice she was drinking, but she did it.
Yeah.
And we kind of just took off from there.
We've been in love ever since.
Yeah.
I think our husbands at that juncture thought, "What? You're doing what?" Okay. All right.
What were you doing at the time?
I had been in the corporate world since my senior year of college. My degree is in industrial design, and so I did product design and like the promotional product space. So I was working for a company doing product design and product management. And although it had been a really amazing career that had, afforded me like lots of international travel and things like that, I was really at a point where I was just creatively hungry and really tired of working in the corporate grind. So when Mallory, she's not joking about the, kind of divine intervention. When she came to me, I literally thought like, yeah, absolutely. Sure. Let's do it. Anything. Let's try it. Let's do it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that. And then the wild thing about that, we dove right in. I think I had, my third kid right around that same time period. And I remember she would come over at 5 a.m. Sometimes this baby would be there. We just worked 14 hours a day. We were just gung-ho on making sure that we were going to pour everything into this. And 6 months after that, the pandemic hit. So, we went from kind of working wildly side by side to all of a sudden working remote from each other for a year. But somehow still managed to get things up and off the ground.
So I think that's interesting. So Mallory, you had started the firm a couple years before that.
Yes.
What happened that made you think, I should have somebody else to work with? And by the way, I asked the question because, I've been doing the show now for 11 years. And I've always done it by myself. Mm-hmm. I had another show prior to this, and I had a partner, and it went horribly, horribly wrong. Mm-hmm. And that's when I launched Convo by Design. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it by myself. There's a certain level of trust, especially when you're in a creative endeavor. And I say that because like, if you were mathematicians or if you were, accountants, here's the work, here's the workflow, here's the byproducts, you just get it done. But when you're in a creative endeavor, sometimes there's I'm more creative than they are, and I'm doing more than she is, and I'm doing more than. What made you think you wanted a partner to come on, and how did that affect the nature of the firm?
Sure. Josh, I'll be honest, I don't know that I don't know that I had formed the thought of wanting a partner. I really think it was in that moment running into her and recognizing this was a human that I just truly wanted to work with. There was just, I call it a spark. I don't know. There was just something that felt innately right about that choice. And it seemed incredibly, like in hindsight, sort of rash. But we have not looked back. Elizabeth always describes this as a perfect yin and yang, and I do think that lends our unique partnership to be incredibly successful. And we've been blessed not to face, I think, the pitfalls of what you just described in a partnership. I think we kind of naturally gravitate towards opposite sides of the business.
I could not do what Mallory does. I mean,
I couldn't do what she does.
I think she can do anything, but I could not. We very much. Because I do think you're right. You know, Josh, I think partnerships can be really challenging. And sometimes when they go wrong, they go very wrong. But I think, at least for us, it's only made us stronger too. Because I think we're stronger together. That's the strengths and the experiences that we bring, our natural dispositions. We joke with our team, like we duke it out. We disagree just about as many times as we agree. But I think it lends a better product. We are both, ruthless when it comes to developing our business and our standards. And I think we're just stronger together. I literally could not do what Mallory does.
We overlap daily, but we certainly have like areas in the business we kind of separately lean into. But I would say, I think if I were to reflect back on what was probably lacking, besides just Elizabeth as a human, in those in those early years, was a feedback loop. I think it's really hard, and her and I still find this. We are rarely with a client by ourselves, because I think sometimes as you're presenting an idea or even formulating an idea, having someone else to workshop that idea with, and when she says we duke it out, I mean, we are comfortable saying, I don't like that. What if you did it this way? Let's start from scratch on that. There's no ego involved in that conversation. We are very much united in our focus on doing the best we can for the client.
Yeah, it's very much, and we've told our team this, we want our studio to be professional. We want everyone in our studio to have fun and love what they're doing, but it's business, it's not personal. And Mallory and I exhibit that on a daily basis. I mean, we have, I wouldn't say we have challenge. I love you so much. I wouldn't have challenging conversations with you, but we don't agree. But every day after work, we'll have a glass of wine together, and our families, our husbands are incredibly good friends. Our kids go to the same school. So we, I don't know why it works so well, but it just works.
The creative aspect to it, I think, is really, really interesting when it comes to partnerships and creative endeavors. You have to have two people who are capable of agreeing and disagreeing at the same time. You want complementing philosophies, but you don't want matchy. So tell me about I got a couple of questions. First of all, living in the Midwest for a couple of years, as I have been, and kind of realizing, coming from LA, it's very, very different.
Very different.
The state of design, the need and use of designers. How is the Kansas City market? And I noticed from your offerings that you do virtual as well. Did that start during the pandemic? And how do you explore that? How do you make that a viable part of what you do?
So great question. And we actually just spoke at the Midwest Design Conference kind of on Midwest design. But the shoppable design and construction consultations, you're absolutely right. They started right before the pandemic started. We had done some rooms for a family here in town. And when the pandemic hit, we really threw everything at it. And it really was the perfect intersection of market need and our personal situations, because we did probably, I think in that first year, over 100 rooms. all over the country. People also were hungry for that in their space, and we were leveraging and, you know, servicing them with something that at the time was, I mean, certainly not new, but new in the way that we were doing it. So it really propelled our business forward, gave us a huge boost of confidence, kind of let us figure out who we were as a studio, where we really excelled aesthetically, what projects really kind of got us going. And in that time frame, we were also doing one of our first, like together, two of our first like major renovations at the time too. So it was a really great exercise, but we've been able to work with, through shoppable design, construction consultations, and now on the expert. We do client consultations all over the country, and it's really interesting just to see, I think to your point, like the different styles that are popular from coast to coast. We've got new builds, and we have a new build in Texas. We have a couple clients in Florida. So it's fun for us to kind of get to dabble in some different geographies.
They're these our full service clients are long-term projects.
2 years.
You're really in the weeds with these projects, all the construction details, furniture details, and shoppable design. Our virtual offering it's fun to kind of dip into a project and dip out. It's usually one room. Sometimes clients do 2 or 3 rooms at a time, but you kind of get into a family's aesthetic and headspace and their room, and then you kind of get back out, and it's a fun exercise.
Yeah, we've done Manhattan penthouses, we've done beach houses, we've done, you name it.
One of the things that I find so interesting, and to back up a second, so I'm in Tulsa working on this design house project that was supposed to be a 1-year project. We're in year 3.
Yeah.
And wow, it's interesting because I've covered design houses for a long time, but the design houses I've always covered have been pre-demo, work, show, breakdown, move on.
Yeah.
This is because it's virtual and remote in nature. The designers that I have working on this are never come to town, so they're never here. And it's really interesting. So right now I'll give you an example. We have the living room, and Bridget Coulter Cheadle is designing that. She's in LA. She's fantastic. I mean, I'm so excited to get this done. But there's a hang up in, we had a daybed built, but ran into an issue with the cushion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete custom job. Well, here in Tulsa, we had one woman who has been working on all of our textiles and drapery and that sort of thing. She's 97 and only answers the phone, doesn't have email. And if you want something, we actually have to drive over
physically
there.
Go there. Yeah.
And at this point, she's like, you know what? It's too technical a piece. She can't do it. So now I'm looking around and I'm trying to find it. Now I'm not in LA. Were I in LA or Manhattan, workrooms, easy, right?
Yeah.
Chicago or Miami, workrooms, easy. I can find an upholsterer to do this, no problem. It has been an absolute challenge getting it done here. And so, this idea, and you being in Kansas City, which I was excited to talk to you about this too, because I have this concept, like these design flyover states, of which I consider the entire Midwest, except for Chicago, to be part of the design flyovers, where they don't traditionally have not gotten a lot of attention from media. And that was one of the reasons why, I picked Tulsa to do this. But if you're in one of these cities, I kind of feel like you miss out on some of the developing trends and ideas. Like if you go to shows, you can pick up the textiles, you can pick up the colors, you can pick up the appliances, materials, the whole thing. But like in California, in New York, Chicago, Miami, like security and safety, that has now fallen to designers and architects to figure out how to make a safer space. Prior to the pandemic, it was air quality, water quality that designers had started working in. How do you stay on top of those types of things when in the market in which you reside, safety and security is it an issue? Sure, you're always going to have crime, but it's not really the same as it would be in, say, San Francisco.
Sure.
But it might be eventually.
Yeah, I think listening to our local market too. I don't know that safety and security is top of mind, but privacy
Privacy
is more so. So, lending an ear to our local clients. And I think, Josh, I love that you call this whole area the flyover states. That's something that we have tried to take pride in as a studio.
We have our weekly reel, which is called The Flyover.
Oh,
We are. It's you. Check it out. It's called The Flyover, and we are. I'm a proud Midwesterner. I was, born and raised in Kansas City, so my whole life has been, a flyover state mentality. But
yeah, we're proud of that. I think, speaking to the challenges you face, though, I think something we do run into is just the smaller amount of opportunities for clients to interact with products. So
yeah,
I'd say 9 times out of 10, our client will take our word for it. We went and sat on it at market. We visited a vendor. We worked with this vendor hundreds of times. We understand their quality and their sit. But sometimes you get a client who wants to go sit test it, and there is not the full breadth of opportunities to do so in person in our area. I think that's something that we hope could change in the coming years, and maybe we could even be a part of that momentum. But at this exact juncture, it's a smaller market for physical spaces.
Yeah. And I think, speaking to perhaps not so much on the safety and security aspect, but on the flyover and being kind of, I think you'd said, like, kind of maybe a part of the country that doesn't necessarily get credit aesthetically for having a strong sense of design per se. I think something that we've really thought about as we're kind of developing, just the flyover and our positioning within the market. I think when you think of the East Coast, it has such a clearly defined, classic aesthetic, that Americana, the early American antiques, that traditional color palette, those classic lines. When you think of, the West Coast, it's that indoor-outdoor lifestyle. It's very easy, breezy, laid back, soft, slip-covered, beautiful, clean lines. When you think of the South, you think of, it's a little bit more flair, a little bit more color, still, anchored in tradition and European influence. I think what we are trying to capture about the Midwest, and I think why clients not from the Midwest have come to us for their large-scale renovations, is we have the benefit of being able to blend all of that together. We can take a little bit of this and a little bit of West Coast and a little bit, of Southern style and kind of meld it together, because we don't have rules here in the Midwest. I mean, there's no stylistic aesthetic that we are beholden to. And I think, I can't wait for you to come to Kansas City, but I'll give you some streets to drive through. But I think one of the things we love about our city is, there's a lot of old wealth that built this city, and we have the most amazing collection of architectural styles. You could drive down any street and find, a Tudor, a Georgian colonial, maybe something that has a bit more of like a Spanish style architecture. And we really are leaning into that as a studio. I think our signature style, if anything, is the ability to try to blend high and low, different styles, different aesthetics. So it doesn't look like, it's that one look. It's, you have a very West Coast.
We don't have to, and try not to get caught up in, I think, trends, which is, I think, one of your initial question there is how we kind of follow along with those things. I think we have the privilege of sort of creating our own in that capacity.
It's interesting too, because when I moved out to Tulsa, which is firmly planted on the southern edge of the Midwest.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because if you ask Tulsans, like, are you the South or the Midwest? You'll get probably 90-10, like, we're Midwest. If you go to Oklahoma City, it's probably like 50-50 Midwest. Once you get to the Texas border, though, like, it's the South.
You're gone.
You're in the 100%. You're in the South.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found really interesting, to your point, the nature of architecture here in Tulsa too is just extraordinary. But what I also found was, I don't want to call it an unwillingness to progress into new design styles, but you find, and it's interesting considering how much mid-century modern is here in Tulsa, an unwillingness to go modern, mid-century modern, or towards that modern direction. Everything is far more traditional. And it was interesting talking to some designers here. There was this reticence to with regard to appliances, you know, the German appliances don't generally do very well here. The clean, sleek, modern appliances don't do very well here, which I find absolutely surprising until you realize that it's kind of like this Midwest sensibility. And I kind of learned this when I did Design Chicago a couple of years ago. And I was talking to some designers, and I was really kind of stunned by, I don't know if you want to call it a lack of willingness to self-promote, but like I have great friends, designers, architects, LA, New York, Chicago. Like they will tell you how great their work is. They will, I mean, they will throw it out there and tell you what's amazing and what you need to do and push boundaries and rip things open and break it and then fix it. And all in the name of creating and crafting something new and remarkable. I found kind of like this Midwest sensibility within the design community. It's like, no, I don't need an article. I don't need a promotion. I don't need a piece. I don't need an interview. I just do my work. And I feel like that comes from a client base that kind of feels the same way. Is that a real thing?
Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
You just hit, I mean, I think the nail on the head.
I think there is a want or maybe even a fear of no one wants to feel showy. I think even if the client has the means to invest well in their home, no one wants something that feels flashy or overdone or showy.
And I think it's
humility.
It's a humility and something that I think we're proud of. And I think maybe it's one of the things that, again, back to our partnership, you know, it's just a work ethic, just a really strong work ethic. And we are the absolute worst at self-promotion, I feel like. But I think to Mallory's point, you know, our clients, for the most part, you would never know if if it was billionaires or what have you. They value their privacy. They value an individuality in their style. They don't want to look like, everyone else. They don't want to kind of chase that trend. They want their homes to feel, and I'm thinking, this is overarching, but they want their homes to feel very inviting and, friendly and warm and not for show, which I think maybe in some other areas of the country, I think when you get, multi-million-dollar projects or things, there's probably a little bit more, I would assume, of an element of like the perception of the end result and like the grandeur of it and maybe the showiness of it, which I do think you're right. I think here in the Midwest, people they very much distance themselves from that sort of perception.
Yeah, they want elements that feel like they're rooted in history. I could see a pushback on some more modern appliances. Just wanting something that feels a little bit more traditional, less of the moment, a little bit more comfortable. I think we always say we can build a beautiful space, but if you can't put your feet up at the end of the day, we've done something wrong. And that very much matches the ethos of our clients. They want a welcoming, inviting place to have friends and family in and feel comfortable in those spaces.
It's interesting too, because I'm looking at your work, and Elizabeth, you had said something about our signature style. I feel like that term gets thrown around a little bit too loosely. I don't see a signature style in your work, and I've had this conversation for years. I'm trying to remember when it originated, and I want to say I think this started in 2018 or 2019 at Legends in Los Angeles when I met Bunny Williams, and I was listening to her speak, and she was on the show, and she said, she didn't want to design a space where someone could look at a space and say that was a Bunny Williams
for sure
design. Yeah. I get that. But at the same time, I feel like any creative endeavor is kind of like a fingerprint. Like you can look at the work and see through lines that individual creatives will craft and put together. And I think that's more like it. So there's a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about in your projects, but first I wanted to ask you, does Kansas City, what's the vibe? it's a remarkable sports town,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, yeah, recently for sure.
No, I mean, look, forever. I mean, even when the Royals aren't good,
Yeah,
they still, which is
people
usually
still show up. They
people
still
still
showed
show
up.
up. I
What
know, it's
was it? Like
amazing.
we won the World Series in '85, and then we had like a several year break.
A
And
lifetime
I mean,
break.
the Chiefs, we had, with Len Dawson, and then we had some years where maybe we weren't. We had Joe Montana in there. Now we've got Taylor's boyfriend, who we absolutely adore. I call him Uncle Travie in my house. I've this
Travie.
year became a massive football fan. My husband was like, I don't think you've ever
We don't actually know him.
watched
To be
football.
clear, he's
I
not
don't.
an
Would
uncle.
like to know him, but yeah, I think with the vibe in Kansas City, I do think Kansas City is kind of having a renaissance. We used to be way back when we had a lot of like manufacturing. We had Petticoat Lane, we had Union Station. We had kind of a more thriving, I think, manufacturing background. And I think what's interesting about the city right now with the investments in, the first female sports stadium with the Casey Current and, Casey Sporting and all of that. I think the city's really investing in itself. We're the home of Hallmark Cards, Garmin, H&R Block, lots of big companies. But I don't think people realize are here. So we have a strong history in that. We also have an amazing commitment to the arts for a Midwestern town. We have an amazing, symphony. We have the Nelson Atkins, which has just an absolutely astounding collection of art. We have our own modern art museum at the Kemper. I can't say enough good things about my hometown and sort of what we're trying to achieve. But I'm excited to be part of the fabric of the city right now because I do think there's just so much happening in the city that I'm excited for the next, it's going to look like in 20 years.
You are listening to my conversation with Mallory and Elizabeth from Kobel and Company of Kansas City, Missouri, and we'll be right back. As a busy professional designer, you know how important it is to find the right partnerships. Partnerships that allow you to specify the right products for every project. Professionals like you don't just have time to sit around and waste, right? So let me tell you about one of my partnerships. Pacific Sales is here to serve you with expert, knowledgeable, and non-commissioned professionals to help you specify the right product for all your projects. Non-commissioned. That means their only incentive is your satisfaction. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, a Best Buy company, has just that, with over 60 years of service in Southern California. Pacific Sales is your destination for exploration, advice, and inspiration. And you will find all your favorite brands, like Monogram, and their commitment to providing exceptional products, starting with materials. Monogram sources commercial-grade stainless steel on their refrigerators, unscratchable sapphire glass on their cooktop knobs, durable marine-grade bearings on their dishwasher racks. Monogram takes inspiration from the leading-edge materials used in the high-end automotive and aeronautics industry to provide you with lasting beauty and exceptional quality. The beauty is backed by the same level of attention to performance, which is why Monogram appliances are trusted and sought after by chefs all over the country. Chain-driven French oven doors that can be opened with one hand, and an industry-exclusive hearth oven that allows for all-electric indoor brick oven-style cooking without the need for external ventilation. These are just a few of the things that make Monogram so special. Pacific Sales features Monogram appliances, and Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home team is here to help you and offer their Pro Rewards program, which is a trade program unlike any you have experienced before. And here's the cherry on top: access. Access to exclusive builder trade incentives from top brands like Monogram. Visit a Pacific Sales showroom today to learn how you can unlock additional savings and benefits. Don't miss out on the opportunity to work with the best of the best. Visit Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home today and elevate your projects to new heights. Pacific Sales Kitchen and Home, where excellence meets expertise. Man, I love this. I have a new sponsor partner on the show that I want to introduce you to if you're not already familiar with them. If you are a specifying designer, architect, landscape architect, or savvy design enthusiast, if you have heard about the quiet luxury movement, this idea of crafting a lifestyle around understated elegance, simplicity, and sophistication, there's more to it than that. And I will add uncomplicated living. Isn't that what we all strive for? I am extremely happy. I'm really thrilled to share a company that embodies all of this, utilizing proprietary technology and a focus on sustainability in their stunningly beautiful products. It's TimberTech. TimberTech is the premium decking company delivering multi-tonal, color blending, and natural wood textures in a product that is virtually indistinguishable from a natural wood product. What does this mean? It means it's everything wood should be. A beautiful look that blends seamlessly with a well-designed space, providing years of enjoyment and performs the way you want it to. No splintering, fading, peeling, cracking, or rotting. I had a wood deck at our Manhattan Beach home, and I gotta tell you, it was exasperating every year doing the random board flip, taking out nails, resetting them, restaining them. It was a complete pain. It was complicated, and I didn't look forward to it. I wish I had TimberTech, because TimberTech is not only uncomplicated, it's beautiful. It comes in over 20 finish options and 9 collections, and 85% of the material is recycled. This is premium decking for your next project. Learn more and specify it for your next design project. TimberTech on the socials, or timbertech.com, where you can find a retailer near you, as well as a number of tools to create, design, order samples, and get the expert help you may need. TimberTech is uncomplicated luxury and performs. It's your choice for your next deck project. That's the exciting part, really. Like, especially when you look at the traditional left coast, right coast design cities, you know, they are kind of what they are. The skylines will change a little bit. You have a lot of infill projects. You have, like, you know, I'm from Manhattan Beach, and when my family started moving there in the 70s, it was like all old beach bungalows and Volvos. It was so cool. Our house that we bought in 2007 it was built for the TRW engineers when they were working on defense. And so you had all these engineers coming out and moving in, you know, to the beach in the 50s.
Yeah.
And so all of these little beach bungalows were built. And I love that. Now, if you go, it's tip to tail, rail to rail on every lot. You know, it is, there's very little, you know, rooftop decks are super popular because you have no yard, and it just goes from lot line to lot line, front to back. And, you know, if I see another Cape Cod mod, I will be sick. I do not care for the Cape Cod mod anymore. But the point is like, when you look at a city like a Kansas City, where you've got huge growth potential, and looking at your, you know, some of the through lines, I love your kitchens and bathrooms.
That's so nice of you to say. I think you did touch on something with the, I think if we had a signature style, much to, you know, kind of being able to, or attempting to blend geographical styles and kind of cues, I think we make a really strong commitment to our clients that their space should not feel like us. Their space should feel like them. So I think, you know, when any client comes to us and they have this massive, you know, renovation and their hopes and dreams and their goals for their family, it's a big relationship that you're starting. And I think we feel so strongly in trying to commit to them that we are going to listen at the very beginning of this process for longer than, you know, you might think necessary, just to really learn what you're really after, how you want the space to feel, how you want that space to function, because it should feel like them. So, you know, I think when you look through projects, and we've got some new ones where we can't wait to share, I think they all do feel
I'm actually thrilled to hear you say you don't see a stamped or signature style there. I think the signature is much like Elizabeth said. I think it's the individuality of it. I think the blending of genres, and if you do see a commonality in kitchens and baths, I suspect that's more from the artistic creation behind it. Those are probably areas where that comes through a little more clearly than the living spaces, which might feel a little bit more unique to each client.
Yeah, well, like, for example, if I'm looking at your projects and I see, I hope I pronounce this right, Drury in a Hurry.
Drury in a Hurry.
Drury, okay. Love this project. wanted to pick out a couple of things that I think is really interesting. First of all, the hero shot on this, which I'm assuming to be, it's obviously a living space. I'm assuming it to be a den or
Like a library.
something, a library. Okay. Love the artwork. Love the vibe. It's dark and moody. One of the things that I picked up immediately was you've got decanters with and bars. You guys are not afraid to throw decanters and bars. Where in the past, though, especially in the Midwest, bars were not seen.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
This is
funny
funny
you
to bring
say that because I would say the one of the most recent trends, if I could use that word, in client asks of late is to have not just a bar space, but a bar.
Yeah, not like a hidden wet bar.
Not a hidden wet bar, a bar.
bar.
They want people to be able to perch at the bar. They want to stand behind the bar and serve. Maybe, in holidays, even bring someone in to serve for them. They want to dedicate real estate in their homes to that function.
And they want them to look impressive, not in a showy way, but this is not an afterthought. This is very much an intentional, much like you would have seen in the 50s, in some of the older homes that people then ripped out. Now we are putting them back in.
Kind of a return to that glamorous form of hosting, yet with a Midwestern,
I'm here for
relaxed element to it.
I just hope we get invited after the projects are done. I just hope I get to perch at the bar. That would be a win.
Well, I love that because, and what I find interesting is sort of it's multi-layered and kind of technical, and the multi-layered and kind of technical is what I love. I started doing this show because I love what you do. I love what designers and architects do. I'm not a designer. I'm not an architect, but I recognize how that the experiential nature of really good design impacts the lives of those who get to enjoy it, right?
Absolutely.
And so this idea of a bar, where in this case, I'm seeing everything in decanters, but you don't even know what's in it, but clearly that's part of their lifestyle. And if somebody has paired passions, you got a turntable, you've got art, you've got, you've got a bar. That says a lot about the person who lives there and how they choose to recreate socially or individually, right? And I think all too often, especially recently, to and through the pandemic, social media, it's like everyone would just go to Pinterest and just say, oh, that's my design, do that.
Yes.
Or here, I love this. Part of this design house project, we took an inspiration room, which was the dining room, and took about 10 different projects from different designers, and then used that inspiration to craft something which is completely different, but you can see elements to the through line. Back to Drury in a Hurry. I love this. Here's what I love about the project, at least through the images that you've shared, right? This library, clearly paired passions, right? It's a place to go, chill, relax, unwind. And then you get into the kitchen, which is a beautiful, bright white space. And by the way, I am a huge fan of white kitchens, and this particular kitchen has almost everything that I could see in the ultimate kitchen. It's comfortable. It's not overly large.
No.
But it seems to have everything. When you approach a new kitchen space, kitchens and bathrooms, like I said, are kind of like super challenging. How do you approach the kitchen? How do you approach the bath? Are you doing triangles in the kitchen, zones? What are you trying to accomplish?
I'd say it's multifaceted. So I think, as Elizabeth, mentioned earlier, a lot of listening. So for each client, really trying to get at the heart of, do you cook? Do you cook alone?
No shame if you don't.
Are you a microwaver? Here I am.
Are you an orderer? There is no shame. Kitchen. You can still unbox things.
Are you
in a
messy? We go to clients' homes as is. We tell them don't pick up. We want to see where are those areas that you're shoving your stuff, because you're shoving it somewhere.
You might bring us that Pinterest image of all glass cabinets and floating shelves. But if we come to your house,
y'all don't live like that.
Y'all don't live that way. That's just not going to work out for anyone involved. So we want to be good stewards of our clients' habits.
I think really trying to understand. So I'll actually point you to a different project you can pull up on our site, but Windows to the Walsh is one that I think is a good example of this. We worked with an amazing client. A lot of our clients have young families. She happened to be a little bit more advanced in her family position. She had kids who were leaving the home. And she had the privilege of renovating a few homes before, building a home before, and really understood what she wanted. And bought a house built in the 90s. It had that really amazing thing they did in the 90s where they put everything on an angle.
Everything was on an angle. Like, let's angle it here and angle it there and put a sink on an angle and do this. And
it was a god-awful ugly kitchen. But what it had was a range in the island, which I'll be honest, a cooktop island. Anytime we've encountered a cooktop in the island, the first thing we said was, take that out. But for her, part of her family story was they love to cook together. It is part of how they interact together as a family. And she said, I am tired of having my back to my family while I cook. She wanted it to be a collective experiential component of their day. And so we said, okay, we hear you on that. Let's figure out how to make this work. And we designed a kitchen with the range in the island. And it's this exceptional island. It's large. She can fit all 4 kids. If they come home with spouses or kids, eventually they can gather around that. And
she can fit 8.
It's this gathering place for her. In her kitchen, it sets her up for her specific habits now, while also trying to be really beautiful and timeless and classic in a way that if they, were to sell the home down the road, we haven't done anything too bizarre. But really hearing personal habits and setting up the kitchen space to complement that.
And I think in speaking stylistically too, in trying to hear our clients and really advocating for their personal style versus any kind of studio signature. If you look at the kitchen in Eurostar, that client, she wanted a professional kitchen. She really wanted high contrast. She wanted warm wood. We dropped anchor early on a giant 70-inch, black French range. She wanted all of the brass, kind of a little bit more of a maximalist. And then you flip over to the windows and the Walsh, and this client really wanted, in this phase of her life, laid back, easy, all about family, all about hospitality, white, bright, almost, leaning slightly more West Coast. And it's fun to be able to play in those things and get that vision so that it feels just absolutely, bespoke to that particular client's need.
There's a couple of things that you did too, which I find super interesting. One is, and I don't see this often at all, is floating shelves in front of a window.
That's all Mallory.
It's a choice, and it's a bold one that could fail. In this case, doesn't. I love, you've got kind of like this touch of hospitality design too. Like, in a working restaurant kitchen, you're going to have to use every bit of space that you have. But I love how, these floating shelves are juxtaposed against the floating shelves on the other side of the island. So while not matchy-matchy, you have a through line and a carryover. But I don't see a lot of uppers, and that leads to a really clean environment.
Yeah. Josh, I'm really glad you noticed that those are the same, because they're the exact same width intentionally. Thanks for noticing that little detail.
We non-traditional layout again on that kitchen, and a little bit more backstory. Aside from the angled island there, the room that you're seeing with those floating shelves was previously just the Eden kitchen area, and it has the best views in the house. It has this, I'm sure you can see it in the pictures, a beautiful view out that back window. They overlook a golf course, and you feel like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. And no one was going in that space. No one ate at the table. No one walked in there. And so we were looking for kind of a reason to draw people in there. So by making it an extension of the kitchen, you kind of have this reason for being in this zone. Now, the windows that the shelf go across, also a great view. It's probably of the 3 walls, the least interesting there. So, we're still getting the natural light. We're still getting the feeling of the outside, but we're not necessarily obstructing a vista. Now, that being said, the dishes that you see there, I know designers get a bad rap for styling a space and then it actually in reality looks completely different. No, those are her dishes. She uses every last one of them. We've been back into the project, and it looks more or less like that. She is a client who could support having an open shelf system like that. It's going to always look fresh and beautiful, but also very much utilitarian for her specifically.
In this phase of life, she wanted to kind of get rid of everything from, maybe a different aesthetic, different era of her life. She really wanted to kind of lean into this. And even with the island in the middle of that space, we played with, should it have more functionality for you? Should we, hide more storage in it? And she really didn't. She really wanted to maintain that airiness. And we have the most amazing partner here in town who's able to kind of bring some of our dreams to life. And he was able to make that island for us, and it matches the powder coated hood we designed. And I'm really happy with the way it turned out.
I love that. And okay, so jumping, because as soon as you said, angled and hate it, and, I'm looking around, whenever I see a wonderful banquette, I'm going to stop. Like, I'm a sucker for a banquette. Like, I love good banquettes. And the BFF house.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking at this kitchen again.
Oldie but a goodie.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's probably our oldest project up there.
I love this kitchen. It's still a white kitchen, but it's a lot warmer. That dining room is exquisite, and the use of wallpaper in, I'm going to assume that's a powder bath.
Yep.
Love that. Love the artwork. So what really caught me with this project is, as I'm going through it, this reminds me of a design house. This reminds me of a designer showcase, because each room is different stylistically, but it's not matchy at all. It's very, very different, but it all seems cohesive and to flow. That's really hard to do.
He has a strong color story.
I have to give props to that client too, who much like a lot of our clients, really trusted us, very much vocalized that they wanted a home that felt unique to them and not like anyone else's. And I think we work really hard to gain client trust and understand what they like as much as what they don't like. And then go a little wild. I think that particular client came back later and said, reflecting back on the design process, they think one of my favorite things was you guys would show me something that my initial thought, oh, no, I don't know. I'm not sure I like that. And then she'd sit with it and she'd come back and say, okay, let's try it. And she said, those are my favorite things in the house. So I think our job is to understand the client uniquely, push them enough out of their boundaries to kind of get them to a space that feels unique and reflective of them, not so far that it no longer represents who they are, but if we're not thinking of things that they haven't thought of themselves, and I'm not sure we have a specific role to play. Ideally, we're putting things in front of them that feel like a little bit of a wild card.
And we always tell clients that. Whether it's art or bold choices. Even in the Eurostar collection of rooms, the piece of art in the stairwell, it says, "Touch me, touch me, touch me, touch me." And it was during COVID when no one could get near anyone. And Mallory we were presenting an art deck, and she put that in there. And I was like, girl, I don't think that's gonna fly. This is gonna be, I don't know about this. I don't think this is gonna, and the client, it was just the perfect storm. She was like, I want that for sure. And then same, her powder bath in that house, talk about trust. She wanted to make a bold statement, and, we went with that lacquered pink and put a neon sign where a mirror should be. So it was fun.
Tell me about the dining room, because this is bold.
At the BFF house or Eurostar?
Yeah, BFF.
Yeah. The client really wanted something different, and fell.
She got it.
But fell in love with that mural. And then I'll be honest, we really spent a lot of time ideating on what to put over that buffet piece there, because no one wanted to block the mural. It was so pretty. And so we came up with this wild idea to put the neon sign, and we went back and forth on phrases, and how silly to be on that, and that just landed on that one after kind of talking through things the client loves, and
they picked that.
They picked it.
They came with their own. They really wanted they're a personal touch.
Elizabeth and I always say, if the room's too pretty, it's not successful. You have to throw in something either a little ugly or a little weird in there.
You need a little dirt.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, and it's funny because transitioning from there to your kids' spaces.
Oh my gosh, we could talk about kids' spaces all day long.
By the way, can I just say one major through line that I see that you guys have that I absolutely love and wasn't really that conscious of prior to moving to Tulsa is you have hydrangeas in like every project.
They grow here. So when you're in a photo shoot, Josh, and you need something that you didn't think you needed.
Elizabeth's been known to keep clippers in her glove box.
That is either my biggest flaw
brilliant.
Or signature.
That's brilliant.
You will find me in medians cutting things down for a photo shoot.
You know what's funny? You and I, simpatico, same thing. Like when I lived in LA, I would cut succulents. I would just grab succulents and just be clipping. Go for a walk with the dog. Clip. I would just clip them wherever I went and then propagate them and start. That's why moving here, the hydrangeas. Love. We have them all over and just absolutely love them. So seeing them, I kind of feel like the hydrangea is the equivalent, the Midwest equivalent to Southern comfort food.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
You know what I mean?
I'm not even sure I'd ever noticed that we had them in there, but they feel native. They feel like, again, we want our spaces to not feel like sets. We try hard not to feel like you're walking on scene.
Yeah, we do say that a lot.
We want it to feel native to the area that we're in, and those very much play the part there.
And I'm looking at these. Okay, so as you scroll all the way down, there's one kids room. I'm going to say it's a whole where the wild things are vibe with the wallpaper. I'm loving that.
So we love doing kids rooms.
Love them. I'm gonna like interject really quickly right here with a plug. We most of our projects will do the whole house, but every once in a while, a client wants to knock a space off of scope, and kids spaces seem to be the first to go. And I think it's a mistake. I think don't sleep on kids rooms. They can really, you spend a lot of time in them.
Yeah, you do as the parent.
Yeah.
No, those last kind of 3 images were 3 rooms. There are 3 siblings, and the most amazing, the kindest clients I think we've ever had. These amazing parents moved into this beautiful house that's dated, kind of a lot of 90s vibes. But the place they wanted to start over any renovation was they wanted to do their kids' rooms, not the kitchen, not the primary suite. They really wanted to do their 3 kids' rooms. And I give them credit. She came to us with she wanted them to feel individually like each child. And I think each room tells its own color story, and each room has its own personality. That room with the kind of bold teal and bright yellow and dinosaurs is the baby of the house, and he ascribes to a more mid-century modern style versus his older brother, who's a bit more of like a traditional guy. But those rooms were fun. Best clients.
I think anytime, and I think it's really interesting hearing you say that, because I totally agree with you. This idea of, as the budgets shrink and shrink, and you realize you can't do everything, that the kids' rooms would be the ones to be, cut back. I feel like one of the most important things parents can do for their kids is to give them some design in the rooms in which they're growing up, because they're going to remember it for
100%. Elizabeth and I both have very distinct memories, I think, of painting our bedrooms yellow at some point.
Yeah, my dad was very against any color.
But I think and we do spend time, obviously with parental guidance, but trying to understand the kiddos too. So if they'll let us do, sort of an interview of sorts with the kids to get to know their wants. We work hard to give the spaces some longevity. So if we're, if we're into Elsa and Anna, we're probably not going to lean directly into that.
I'm not going to do the wallpaper.
But trying to make the spaces reflect them, because I think that much like they do as adults, I think living in a space that feels like you, represents who you feel you are, and is comfortable and inviting, that shapes you as a person. It makes you feel relaxed. It makes you feel seen.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think doing that for our children is a gift.
We're all shaped by the environments that surround us. I mean, why not in their most formidable years, give them some color and some thoughtful design. Can't say enough about kids' rooms. Would do them all day long.
I love it. And I think that's amazing. Okay. So last topic I have for you, and this has become one of my favorites. I realized this a couple of years ago in talking to a couple of designers that had come on the show a couple of times. I don't feel like it's one and done. Like many of the guests that have been on the over 600 or 550 episodes, many of them are repeats. I love being able to come back and talk again to see what's changed, what's stayed the same, what's different, what's new.
Yeah.
Seeing that growth pattern is kind of like, I love wood, and watching, it's like rings on a tree. You can tell by looking at the rings on a piece of wood. You take a slice, you can look at when things happened based on the density of the rings. So it's kind of interesting.
I love that.
And
That's a great analogy.
one of the things that I started doing a couple of years ago that has just been really cool is this manifesting idea. So what is a project that you have wanted to work on, but have never had the opportunity to?
We're probably going to give you two different answers.
Okay. I'll take it.
I don't know. I gotta think about
I think it's just like dream projects.
No. So years and years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine named Ryan, who's a designer. And he said at the time, one of the things that he always wanted to do was work on a boutique hotel. And the next time we circled back and connected on the show, he was telling me about the boutique hotel he was working on. And I was like, I did that.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
I didn't do that, but when you put it out there,
group manifestation.
Mallory loves
Yeah,
that.
I do.
when you put it out there, things happen.
Totally.
Mallory would love to do it.
What's your answer? Yeah, I would love to do a boutique hotel. I suspect you get that answer more often than not, but yes, I would love to express our design in that capacity.
I think boutique hotels are so fun because you have so many different, a bar, a restaurant. There's so many aspects and places where you could kind of lean into different vibes and schemes. I think that would be
And I think much, as we were saying, we try not to make people's homes feel as though you're walking on set. I think in a hotel or any kind of commercial capacity in that type of related area, you could lean in a little further. I think with homes, we're always worried, considerate about the longevity of the aesthetic that we're presenting. We don't want to create spaces that are being redesigned in a short term cycle, but I think you could have a little bit more fun, a little bit more wow in a space like that. What's your answer?
Mine's not nearly as fun. I have always wanted to do you know the movie Practical Magic?
No.
Oh my gosh, Josh, you gotta watch it. Practical Magic. It's got Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock, and it takes place in this old East Coast beach house that's like a Victorian. It's such an amazing stylistic house, and I think the designers from Roman and Williams actually did the set design for it. It's just amazing. I would love to do a house that already came to the table with such a strong architectural point of view and find a way to sort of lean into all of the amazing, inherent character of that and spin it for someone, new and fresh. I think that would be so
I bet you haven't heard that answer before.
There you go.
I haven't. Practical Magic.
Practical Magic, the most
So
amazing
was it
set design you've ever seen.
Was it the set design that you liked, and so you'd like to sort of replicate, or you're inspired by that set design?
I love the set design. It's just this incredibly historic feeling home on a cliff. So you're dealing with like the location, the elements, the stylistic qualities and cues of the location itself, all of the architectural, details of this home. I think it'd be fun to step into a house that was already so layered with history and, find a way to sort of fine tune it, reinvent it, stay true to it, and kind of give it a new life. We're lucky here in Kansas City that we get to do a lot of homes that are 100 years old, but I'd love to do something that really came to the table with its own personality.
I love that. I think that's really cool. And just a follow up to that, which has absolutely nothing to do with the original question. Do you have an issue in Kansas City with preservation and historically relevant homes being taken down?
That is a very interesting question.
I heard one of your recent podcasts talking about that in LA, I believe. Yeah. I don't know that it's on that scale. I think what we're seeing is the turnover of neighborhoods, more so than individually significant historical homes. I think the turnover of neighborhoods that were much like you described, your last home, these charming, smaller kind of mid-century homes being knocked down for boxes that are filling the lot.
Kind of like giant Cape Cods.
And I think there's something to be said for these neighborhoods are being taken over by families that more or less, they need the space. I mean, there's a functional argument for needing more space. So some of these are 1-bathroom homes, 2 bedrooms. But I think they're being replaced with what I would call kind of stamp design. Yeah, same house over and over and over, modern farmhouse or some
I think in many
iteration of that. And that I think gives us kind of a
and the quality level is different. I mean, you walk into some of these homes and it's just the millwork quality isn't the same, the cabinetry quality isn't the same. It's just I worry sometimes about what we're putting back in its place, in the longevity of not only the materials that have been used, the resources that have been used. I just don't think we're building them like we used to. And we do see some, I think we're working on a house right now that had at one point been slated for tear down, a beautiful historic brick Georgian. And luckily now the owners were renovating it versus new owners. But I hate to see that happen.
Yeah, I think we would love to see a little bit more
preservation.
I don't even know if preservation is right. Honoring of the neighborhood and the style. And as Elizabeth alluded to, we have a great blend of styles in all these neighborhoods. And so to see a full street being half demolished with homes that look just like each other is crushing. We would love to see some architectural uniqueness if new homes are being added.
I think it's rare that a house can't be saved. A good old house with good bones.
Oh, listen, I totally agree with you. But, some of the episodes I've done recently, whether it's 1001 North Roxbury or the Zimmerman house that Chris Pratt demolished, there's this balance between preservation, societal, cultural preservation, and property owners' rights. Yeah. And what I do think is interesting, and maybe we talk about this next time, because I'm sure you can see it now, is because so many people are moving, post-pandemic to new areas, especially from the coast into the Midwest, that all of these, coastal ideas of design and architecture are seeping into areas where that didn't really exist. So it'll be interesting to watch.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So thank you for doing this. This was so much fun.
This
I love this.
So much fun.
We'd love to chat again anytime.
We had
Well, let us know you're here. We'll give you some recommendations if you've got time for a good restaurant or.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to take you up on that. And first timers, you guys are like pros. This is amazing.
Oh, stop.
Good job.
I bet you tell that to all the first time.
I don't. I really don't.
Design Hardware's newly remodeled showroom is where you will find a gallery-style space with a thoughtful display of products, purposefully positioned to allow unbridled exploration and discovery. High-end faucets, luxury tile, natural stone, wood floors, and bespoke hardware selections are presented in a holistic manner, strategically arranged to stimulate creativity and transition your vision from the conceptual stage to a fully realized space. Conveniently located, free parking available. Stop by to find your inspiration. Collect samples, get expert advice, and tackle everything on your shopping list all in one place. Visit them online at designhardware.com or in the real world, 6053 West 3rd Street in Los Angeles.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Mallory. Love your city, love your work. I enjoyed our conversation, and I am greatly appreciative to you for taking the time to share. Thank you to my partner sponsors, Thermosol, Pacific Sales, Timber Tech, Monogram, and Design Hardware. These partners are amazing companies, truly, all who have made a concerted effort to support the design community through education, events, incentives, exposure, and media, not to mention a spectacular collection of extraordinary products and services to match. Check the show notes for links to each of them so you can see firsthand how they can make your design business thrive and your projects exceed expectations. Thank you for listening, downloading, subscribing, and sharing the show with your friends and colleagues. Thank you for your emails, show, and guest suggestions. Please keep them coming. convobydesign@outlook.com and Instagram @convobydesign with an X. Until the next episode, be well and take today first.